Innovation is in our veins. Soon the whole world will know our names. Sharing our knowledge and freedom reign. We here for the people, you know it's our way. Setting foundations is part of the dream. It doesn't matter if you're new to the game. Listen up now, cause we all gon' say, elevate, 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 higher, elevate, 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 higher. We gon' rise up, we all gon' shine. Work through adversity, stay on the grind. Elevate, elevate, this is our time. Elevate, elevate.
Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, everyone. It's so great to have you all on one more time. It's your boy, Josh
Dalton.
And we're grateful to be back on with you once again. Yeehaw. And here we go. Here we go. There's a lot to get into today. Investments. We're going to get into investments today. And what could be happening behind the scenes with your investments, and especially in this economy, it's getting crazy.
Yeah, man, I got a headline on my phone today, and all it said was crypto is dead. So, must be true.
True. That's a sign that it's time to buy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting how it's framed.
Yeah. Crypto's dead. That's only for rich people.
Yeah.
Straight up. When you find out later, Bitcoin ends up hitting $1 million in 5 years, and you're just like, oh, maybe I should invest it when it's 20,000.
I think about that now where I'm like, I remember just like in high school, I would see it on like, what's the website? It's like Minecraft server hosting. Yeah. They would take Bitcoin. And I was like, is this like to evade reporting? Like, what is going on? And I looked into it and I was like, oh, Bitcoin's like $5,000. Like, what? And of course, in high school, I'm like, I don't have $5,000 to even consider this. And I didn't know about buying just parts of it.
Right.
If I had then
just a fraction,
one.
Oh, just one Bitcoin.
If I had just bought one,
right,
that would be so sick.
Yeah.
The fact that I knew no one who was talking about it then.
No.
When was the first time you heard someone talk about crypto?
First time I heard about it would have been 2014.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was actually, I was in a business class at Dow. And I was in a group of kids guys who were doing a sales class, and they were talking about Bitcoin. And I was like, what is this thing? And they were kind of educating me on it. And at the time, I think that year, Dow was actually installing like a Bitcoin machine on campus that you could, essentially transfer your fiat currency for Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the ATMs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And there's like, yeah, this is gonna be pretty big. And like at the time, I think it was about the same. Like Bitcoin was about $5,000 at the time. And I was like, oh, I just don't have $5,000 right now, but I would love to invest in this. And that's the thing, because of my Canadian mentality where you can't buy fractional shares in our market.
Yeah.
I was like, you can't buy a fractional Bitcoin. I didn't have $5,000 as a student at the time, right? But again, looking back on it, I'm like, oh, if I just could have just bought $10 a day or whatever, $5 a day,
right?
It would have been okay. But
I know, man.
We live and learn, and now I started buying in 2020 instead. So
equally, good time. But yeah, it's interesting. I remember in college, I heard someone talk about like working in a blockchain company, and I was like, what is this stuff? Like everyone's talking about this. What's going on? Mm-hmm. And now to see it, and then like Web3 and all this stuff, I'm like, oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
Like right now.
And then to see somebody in the space commit the biggest fraud of our lifetime.
Dude.
They're interviewing Jordan Belfort. Like, what are your thoughts on this? He was like,
dude, when you start
puts me to shame.
When you start asking Jordan Belfort about something, it's like, what does this guy do?
Yeah.
What? What's so interesting is how he is not being painted as like a crook, criminal, thief, or menace.
And except for by the regular people.
Yeah, but like the Daily Mail, CNN, everyone's like he made a mistake. Like, give him some time to get his feet back. Like, he stole billions of dollars.
Yeah,
and he's not a crook.
Yeah.
Why are we being nice now?
Seriously, and it was he did the same thing that he did like fractional banking. He did the same thing.
He just lent it out 9 times.
Yeah,
but he's not a bank.
No, exactly.
He didn't have deposit insurance.
No, he didn't have any of that. And that's the big thing I find the funniest is like, banks talking about, news talking about what happened. And I was just like, was that meme with like the puppet or like mm-hmm. banks right now?
Literally, that's what our banks do.
Yeah.
But in Canada, we have FDIC. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're protected. Like the government will pay us back if our money's lost. But this guy was just like, the company was really just a guy who started it. Like he was no one really before this. Like, so
and they're doing a bunch of sketchy stuff on top of that. Where
like he had his other company lending money to it to then like do things over here, and then paying it back, but then taking it back out. Like it was weird.
It was odd.
It was weird.
And then the girl he was dating's father was friends with Gary Gensler of the SEC.
He literally had a tie to the SEC.
Yeah.
Were they dating before the company got big? Or was that a strategic partnership?
Don't know.
Don't know.
Probably. All I know, they were also having sex parties and all that, which was interesting.
Yeah, in the office, right?
Yeah, straight up. I told you, man, this is literally Wolf of Wall Street with computer geeks.
Dude, it's literally the same thing. Like Jordan Belfort was like the movie's pretty. He said the movies, like The Office was crazy. Like they were like Quaaludes, parties, hookers in the office.
Yep.
And it's like these guys were literally doing that, but they were just like you said, they're like from the movie. Like they're like from movies. It's like they were living like rock stars.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I find it so interesting because like you do like a movie about Wolf of Wall Street, you know, it's very much that was the debate about the movie when it came out.
Is it real?
Yeah. Well, not even so much as real. It's like he was a crook, he was a thief, but they glorified his lifestyle in the movie. That's how it came across.
Yeah, yeah.
And just like it's literally they did the exact same things. Just like a bunch of like they're just not like finance bros. It was just kind of weirdos that you'd see in the street that just like
they were comp sci kids.
Yeah, that's it. Just having lots of sex. Like, it was
they were all
weird.
just rich as heck.
Yeah, and it's funny
They
how
thought the party was never going to end.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny how money doesn't matter who you are; it gives you the same result, doesn't it?
It is so interesting because, like Jordan Belfort, when you looked at him young and now, it's like he had the look of a finance bro.
Yeah,
he had the look of someone who would lie to you, who would steal from. Like he looked like that. Sam Bankman-Fried he just looked like a guy.
Yeah,
like, you know, it was an unexpected, like, whoa, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was odd, and it continues to get weirder as you find out his deep ties to the Democratic Party and how the Democratic Party may have used FTX to launder money to Ukraine back to the States. It's like,
wasn't he the single largest donor to the Democrat Party as well?
Second largest, yeah.
Second largest donor. Yeah. Interesting. I wonder with whose money.
Yeah, good question. Probably are. I mean, it wasn't mine. Well, actually, no. Sorry, I did have some money in BlockFi.
It's interesting. I should have kept the email. It just came up earlier. One of the crypto exchanges I've dealt with sent me a thing that was like, "Here's your statement balance with us." Like I started getting these emails about like, "Here's what you have with us," and I was like, "Is this like them doing like, you're safe here?" Like. We're being transparent, but like, I'm like, yeah, because everyone's no longer trusting that thing.
Well, like the one company that I use, and I've had faith in from the beginning. They've done me no wrong at this point.
Yeah.
But Endex, based out of Calgary.
That's who I think emailed me.
Yeah, it was probably them because I read their email because I was intrigued what they had to say, and they were just like, just want to make it abundantly clear that we do not do fractional reserve lending.
Right.
There's like everything we have is like we do not lend it out. It's full reserve. Like it's 1-for-1 here. And any fiat money you do give to us, we actually have interest at a bank, and here's the paper trail for it. And I was like, okay, good to know.
Cool.
And which is true because like Endex has never been one where they had no products where you could like get interest back on it, right? That never happened.
It's just an exchange.
It's just an exchange that you have money on, and so even them, I still took most of my money off of it just because being cautious. But it was good to know that that's how they operate.
100%. Well, it's like you remember when I got ripped off by CoinSmart.
Yeah,
and it was just all gone. And like their customer service is atrocious. I've emailed them probably 100 times to unblock my account. It's still locked. So I still can't even get into my account to see what's left. I still have not been able to go in and see if it's even like maybe came back. I don't know.
There's like, I stole this, but I felt bad about it, so I gave it back.
You can't even see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's interesting. The crypto stuff, we'll say still does intimidate me a little.
Yeah, I mean,
after that really did, but now after this again, I'm like, it's happening again, man. Like,
yeah, it's like I don't know. I guess putting full disclaimer up. We are going into conspiracy land right now.
Oh boy!
But I really do think this was by design.
Oh really?
I think regular people were doing well off crypto, and because of Sam Bankman-Fried's like such tight ties to the Clintons, Gary Gensler. A lot of people in government, and the fact that a lot of the major news outlets seem to be running cover for him. I feel like this was done on purpose to scare people out of crypto.
Interesting.
and trust in the CBDC, the government's crypto that's coming. You know,
Oh,
I have a feeling.
oh, hey,
But conspiracy land. That's conspiracy land.
I've heard crazier stories.
Yeah.
100%. Someone who's been very vocal about all this stuff has been Kevin O'Leary.
Oh, he's getting caught right now.
Dude, people are, what's going on with him? Why is everyone so upset at him?
So there's some like interesting tweets that come out. So remember the guy?
He's been very rude to someone on the internet. He's been very like attacking someone specifically. I can't remember who.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him and BitBoy Crypto.
Yes, yeah, I think that's who it is.
Yeah, because like I've been reading his tweets, and he's going after O'Leary like crazy. And actually, I have some tweets here.
He said something about how his wife killed someone, and how can you like be so vocal like 2 years after your wife did that? And he said, "We know it was you who was drunk driving your boat, and you made your wife take the fall." Like,
dude, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, dude,
that's crazy.
No, yeah, he went at him, and I think it was BitBoy Crypto.
I mean, I know he's been seriously going after. I saw this.
And O'Leary's been tweeting things and like deleting them within an hour.
Yeah,
it's been
O'Leary's been super sketchy lately.
Very sketchy. And he was very vocal about FTX stuff as well.
Yeah, he was very involved. He's like, I think he was one of the investors.
Yeah, he lost a ton of money. He said,
yeah. Let's see with this. I bookmarked a bunch of his tweets from about O'Leary. So CoinDesk did an interview with Kevin O'Leary where he explained that the Celsius network would go to zero. Let me let you guys in on a secret. This was orchestrated by Kevin and FTX. You guys ready for the news that's going to rock the crypto world? FTX crashed Celsius. Let's examine what FTX did with New Genesis, New Token, and Reef. In both cases, FTX Liquid counterfeited their coins on the exchange's marketplace to control the supply and manipulate the price. This is factual and proven, not speculation. Kevin O'Leary, SBF, and FTX colluded to push the price of Celsius down and started the downfall of Celsius. They did this through a negative media campaign combined with inflating the supply of tokens to short it down to nothing, basically, then swoop in and buy the company, which is true. That happened. I had some tokens on Celsius that to this day I can't get out. It's done. Celsius is now doing bankrupt. Is filing for bankruptcy. And then we demand an explanation from him. And so he goes on to some other things about Kevin O'Leary where here was shocking Kevin O'Leary bombshell. I'm hearing he was visited by a group of people who are forcing him to say positive things about SBF under the threat of physical violence and blackmail. So that's what BitBoy Crypto is saying about Kevin O'Leary right now.
Yikes.
So maybe true, maybe not, but it's like, if it's true, it's getting weird.
Kevin O'Leary tweeted, he was like, at BitBoy Crypto, I eat boys like you for breakfast every day.
Shoot, man. Yeah, it's I think Kevin's in deep on this one, and I think he's going to get caught.
Cheat.
And here we go.
Mark Cuban would never.
Never.
He would not. Man, Mark, I've been reading up on him too.
Oh, yeah.
He's viciously wealthy.
Oh, he really?
Well,
he's a billionaire. But
yeah, he is a billionaire. But like, specifically because of this new drug company he's working on. Have you seen that at all?
He's looking at doing work with Walmart, right?
It's his own drug company.
Yeah. Okay. I thought he was like working on partnerships with like big.
I guess I haven't seen anything about that yet, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
But he's like getting insulin to people for like 80% less.
Right. I did see that.
And like these life-saving drugs for like almost cost.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like exposing big pharma, which I think is iconic. Also, like that really should happen. But it's cool to see him like. It's cool to see someone do something good and make a killing off it. Like you can do those things can be as one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's interesting. Yeah.
And speaking of billionaires doing great things, Elon Musk, let's go.
Oh my god, dog. Yeah. That stuff I don't really have an opinion. I mean, it's like he bought it. I don't have an opinion where it's like.
I've been interested in seeing, that's the whole thing. I'm like, what's going to happen on Twitter? And really, how quick will the turnaround be in terms of difference? Trust me, it only took 2 weeks. And oh my goodness, I love Twitter now. I want to be an active participant on this platform now because all it is spicy memes and spicy things, man. I'm here for it.
Well, there was a senior exec at Twitter. I can't remember her name, but she was in charge of like teams or product or something. Mm. And basically, she was gonna resign, and Elon said, no, stay, like, we think you're valuable, but we need you to fire basically 80% of your team. And she wouldn't do it, so we fired her.
Yeah, man, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's cartel work right there.
He just fired her. Over.
Dang.
Like, what do you think their severance is like?
Apparently everyone got like full 3 months worth of salary as their severance.
That's like incredible.
That's nuts. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Especially I know the average salary was like 150, 160.
And to just be paid that to leave is pretty sick.
Yeah, I think 3 months is enough time to go find work. You know?
Yeah.
And that's before you have to start tapping into like your government benefits.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And also, I mean, it's like, yeah, he's allowed to do that. It's like, so again, it sucks. Yeah, of course. Like, I mean, that happened to me.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been in a position where that happens, and it's like, yeah, it's not nice, but you can't change it.
Yeah, like frig, I got 6 weeks.
Yeah, 6. So that's a month and a half.
Yeah. I would die for 3 months. That'd be great.
And actually, a month and a half is a ton of time.
Lots of time.
Especially when you have Twitter already on your resume. Like, people are going to eat that up.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that before the show. When you have names on your resume, people eat that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's been interesting seeing kind of like I've personally liked the direction of where the platform is going. A lot of people would disagree with me on that. But it's just like been cool to see people just be able to express themselves again.
How does that? What does that look like? Expressing yourself again? Like, are you noticing more tweets about topics you maybe haven't seen before? Are you noticing people who like how are you seeing that?
I think I'm starting to see the battle of ideas just in the trending column. So like there one day I would see like hashtag Trudeau is right, and then right below it is Trudeau is a hack, like stuff like that. Like there's such a competition for ideas now in the space where I'm like, this is what it's about right now. Let's have a battle of ideas. Like this is what Twitter is for, not just to like suppress one side of the argument and just tell them to go away. That's no fun.
You talk about it.
Yeah. So it's been cool to see. And like there's been the photo that's been going around that's been really spicy is the before and after Elon fired everybody.
Oh.
So I think there's this photo of a comms team. And again, this is like, it's a heavy manipulated photo, but just the idea around it is kind of funny. But people are just like, it's a comms team where it was like 90% women, and it was like maybe like 5 guys in the photo. And then after it's Elon, which is a bunch of like, it's just all developers and Elon, and they're all men. And everyone's like, see what happens after Elon takes over, he gets rid of all the women. And everyone's like, Elon asked who wanted to work, and the men stayed. I was like,
Oh.
Yikes, no
comment.
No comment on
no
that.
safe comment on that, man.
But like, that's the thing. What I mean is the heavy manipulated situation.
Is that even true?
I don't know. I don't have the numbers of the employees.
I don't know. Yeah.
All I know is they looked at a comms team, product team, which primarily usually is women dominated, and then they showed a development team, which is usually heavily male dominated. So it's like it's a skew.
Oh, they showed 2 different teams.
Yeah. Like, you don't know.
Well, of course there's going to be trends in different teams.
That's why I don't take the whole thing seriously. It was just like a funny thing to see people get worked up over online. So
yeah. Also, it's and again, it's like, especially because before this Twitter bot, we were always so don't believe what you see on the internet. Like don't like question everything. So now why are we just believing it?
Exactly.
Like actually now probably like you should question it more because I mean, given that it's such a free space, it means it's going to be more open to misinformation.
Yep.
Of course, they're working hard to build a. They already flagged one of Joe Biden's tweets, dog. But
and what's her name? Elizabeth Warren, as well.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they flagged one of hers as well.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So obviously they're working on that. I think they're using it strategically right now to maybe get back at certain people who were quite vocal about things. I don't know, but I suspect that will apply to everyone.
Yeah.
I hope so. It should. It should apply to everyone.
Well, did you see the meme that Elon posted with the monk and like the prostitute?
No. What? I hate it here.
So anyway, like you'll probably like Philip will pull it up, but so essentially the meme is like it's a monk, and then it's like a prostitute like who's lifting up her dress.
Okay.
And like the prostitute is a Twitter logo, and the monk is Donald Trump.
Oh.
And it's like Elon's trying so hard to bait Trump back on the platform, but he won't go.
He said he's not coming back.
No.
Right?
Yeah. It's so. And people got so mad over this meme, saying that like Elon's promoting rape culture.
Oh, so the account's been reinstated.
Yeah, it's reinstated, but he won't go back on.
He just won't log back in.
Yeah.
What is kind of iconic about Donald Trump is when he got banned from Twitter, he went, well, I'm still rich. I'll just pay someone to make me an app.
Yeah.
And then did it.
Straight up.
Oh. And lead us not into temptation. Stop.
Elon's ridiculous, man.
How do you think he makes these?
I think, well, he's a computer geek at heart. And like you've worked with our developers, how memey they all were.
Oh, totally. But I mean, like, do you think he's just like in an Uber and is like, and like does it on his phone?
Well, I think it's more, I think people tweet it out or message him with them and he'll just like post once he thinks it's funny. I think it's mainly
Oh, you think he's got people making them?
Yeah.
This one's funny.
Yeah. Most likely.
I like to believe he's like doing it himself. Like,
I'm sure he's
like
made a couple
before he goes
also.
to bed at night, he's like dark room on his phone, like just making memes.
Yeah. It's crazy. Andrew Tate's back on the platform.
Oh boy, that is crazy.
He let literally he unbanned everybody except for Alex Jones.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
How does Alex Jones feel about that?
Alex Jones came out and he was just like, I get it. He's like, I'm crazy, man.
Oh my gosh, we're in Alex Jones like admittance era.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing I found interesting is like the reason why Alex Jones got banned in the first place was because he made fun of a reporter. But the reason why Elon's keeping him off the platform is because of the Sandy Hook stuff.
Right.
So,
Which
I mean, it opens up different conversations. Like, do we ban people based on what they do off the platform?
Right. I mean, I think if you want Twitter to be a so-called like global town square, you know, it's like, yeah, I think their actions off the platform affect their ability to come in. Sure. I think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I do think Alex Jones is a different case altogether. I do think there's a part of me that believes that Elon is just keeping Alex off for now because he can't take that type of storm at the moment. Trump was already big enough.
Right.
But I think more time goes by, I think he'll bring him back. But
interesting. Or I wonder if he'll introduce something where like you can pay to be unbanned.
Yeah.
But it like goes to like a charity or something.
Right. Be interesting.
And yeah.
Twitter blew $8. Let's go.
Dude, yeah. There's also a TikToker that I follow. He owns a makeup company in Toronto. I think his name's Ryan Dubs. He knows James in the City.
Oh, nice.
And he spoke today about how he got an email last night from someone random and was like, if you don't send us like 50 grand or whatever it was, we're going to have your personal and business Instagram account banned and taken down. And before he could reply, he logged in and both of his Instagram accounts were suspended for impersonating someone. And apparently Instagram's like help desk is horrendous to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Even my personal Instagram got like logged out and I had to send a picture of me holding up a code they gave me on a loose leaf. Like that's how I had to. I literally have the picture. So I can only imagine. Like
I swear I'm not a prisoner of war.
Yeah, I can only imagine when you're, dude. That's what it looked like. I can only imagine when you're like a multi-million-dollar brand with a million some odd followers trying to prove that it's you. But how did this person do that?
That's why, like,
who do they know? Like, how are they able to ban this account?
Yeah, the power some of these people hold, like, right, like. It was actually BitBoy Crypto brought this up when everyone was freaking out about the $8 blue check.
Yeah.
And he was like, we paid Twitter $20,000 to get verified.
Wait,
this isn't a new thing.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So news organizations and big corporations have paid Instagram, Twitter, any of the big tech giants will pay them so they can get verified.
Will they pay them or will they pay companies who are good at convincing those platforms to verify you?
No, they'll full on pay Twitter directly. That's why you see these journalists with like 1,100 followers as verified. It's weird.
I think about that and I literally realize where I'm like, there'll be people even from Halifax where I'm like, how are you verified?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's verifiable?
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you look at the criteria, it's like, you must have like substantial content written about you. You must be like in search results on the internet, a proven background and history and a following and a community. And I'm like, that's like, we're not even there yet.
Yeah.
On any of our platforms.
And there's people that are smaller than us
who have just gotten it.
Yeah.
Haven't posted in 3 weeks.
All right, I guess we're taking the Philip budget and throwing it over to Twitter.
It's like, how much does it cost for these people? Where it's like, I don't get it.
For BitBoy Crypto is $20,000 for him.
And is it worth it? I wonder. Like, I mean, that blue check mark does, to me, I instantly trust the account.
Yeah, it's definitely a status symbol for sure.
Yeah, of at least authenticity, maybe.
Yeah, that's why I loved the dude who impersonated the pharma company and dropped their stock over $50.
Dude, screw pharma, man.
I'm happy for it.
Me too.
Yeah. And now that I'm out of that industry working directly for pharma, I can say whatever I want now, and screw that.
I didn't sign anything.
True.
I don't care.
Yeah, I just don't give a crap no more.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. But
yeah, man. That what they stand for is evil. They are profiteering off sick people.
Yeah.
That's evil.
Mm-hmm. and to know how much money. Like, there was a company I used to work for where they would, like, the contracts were ridiculous. Like, there's like, yeah, we'll contract your app. We'll pay for sole advertising on your app, and we won't check your users, but like, it seems like a cool app, so we'll pay $200,000 to advertise for a weekend and do next to no follow up.
It's like they have a need to spend the money.
Yeah. Shows you how much stupid money is on pharma.
It's weird. It's weird.
3 days, $200,000. Got it. Won't even blink.
Yeah, it's weird.
Doing it else is weird. Our premier, Tim Houston, going after Trudeau.
Dude, listen, that was, I wouldn't say it's weird because I was here for it. It was new. Mm-hmm. It was uncharted territory.
Yeah.
To see him just directly at him.
Yeah.
That was nice.
It was nice, and I'm curious where things will go here. This is Tim Houston's statement to Nova Scotia, but also seemed to be a bit of a veiled threat to Justin Trudeau.
Today, the Liberal government failed Nova Scotians by putting a carbon tax on Nova Scotia when fuel and heating costs are already at an all-time high. Nova Scotia supports action on climate change, but does not support a carbon tax on home heating oil at this time. There are better, more effective ways to help the environment. And a new fuel tax, when there are record highs at the pumps, also makes no sense. We have been told this is intended to change behavior. But even with today's high prices, we are not seeing that behavioral change because we can't change behaviors. People in rural communities need to drive. They don't have the option to bike or take the bus, or as the federal minister suggested, use the subway. The Liberal government had a choice. They could have chosen our legislative plan to reduce more emissions than their carbon tax will, but instead, the Liberals are imposing a carbon tax knowing Nova Scotians and Canadians are struggling. Nova Scotians will remember.
Damn straight. The subway? What an out-of-touch response.
Yeah, we got one of those, right?
On Argyle Street. Yeah. For when you're drunk. What do you mean? That's such an... that's unfortunate to hear that we should just start taking the subway we don't have. Or biking from Hammonds Plains to the city. I wonder how much that would suck in the winter. To, like, what?
Yeah.
Or to change out your entire home's heating system. Like, who's got money for that? Even with rebates, it's like,
the average cost to switch out a home heating system is like $15,000.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you can install heat pumps, but generally, like, your home insurance will require you to have a primary heating source, which cannot be a heat pump.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let me rip out all my hot water baseboards for electric, and then maybe I'll have to up the electric amperage because it might not be enough. And then I need to pay a plumber to remove all those. And then I need to pay an electrician to install the new ones, do all the drywall repair from the behind it, da-da-da-da-da. What? That's unfeasible for most people that I know.
Yeah.
That is like a huge project. That's like a project they would save up for years.
Yeah. It's not cheap. And so, like, that's why, I personally been loving my boy Sean Fraser standing up in the House of Commons. Loves to use New Glasgow and Pictou as the his backbone for his, like, well, my community saw a hurricane. This is climate change at work. And uses that as a reason for his carbon tax, and but doesn't fully address the issue of it possibly costing people more in terms of home heating, because a lot of people out here still use oil, and as you said, don't have the money to just swap it all out for something a little more clean. And sure, there's the argument. I tried to do some calculations on myself. Like I'm not fully following the math on it, so I'll be honest with you. But they're saying like the rebate at the end of the year will kind of cover the increased costs. So I'm trying to fully understand what we're doing here.
To change behavior, it's like, get used to this, because one day they're going to yoink the rebate.
Yeah.
And if you did not correct your behavior, you're stuck without the rebate. But it's like, yeah, and let's use New Glasgow as an example, because I have property there. And a 6-unit building, so there's 6 apartments that need to be heated. In the dead of winter, I can expect every 2.5 to 3 weeks. Last year, a $950 oil bill. That's crazy. The heat's included. I pay that.
Yeah.
That's insane to think that, like, there are homeowners that are paying the same rate as me. I don't get any preferred rates. It's only a 6-unit building. It's not like I'm a huge landlord. It's a 6-unit building, so I'm just getting regular rates.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's call it $1,000 every 2 weeks. Over 6 units. I don't know what that math is. It's like a little over $200 an apartment. Is that the right math?
I'll trust you.
I don't know. I don't know either. But every 2 weeks, that kind of money.
Yeah.
There are. I know for a fact there are people that do not have an extra disposable. Even $150 every 2 weeks. Some $100 every 2 weeks. That's grocery money. That's like, I have a kid who might need things money. Like,
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, and I do find it intriguing because you have people who, that's the argument. It's like, well, we'll give them money at the end of the year to kind of cover all the extra costs. So let's just say that's the argument, and let's just say the math checks out.
Yeah.
But then it's like, why were you supporting just giving blank checks to people for dental care? Why are you supporting giving blank checks to people for rent? You trust them to spend the money where they said they're going to spend it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that you're trusting people with that. That's your thought process. You trust them to spend the money where they should. That's what the money's for.
Yeah.
So why don't you trust people to make the right decisions with their money so you don't have to tax them?
Right.
It's rebate's a redistribution. We're going to tax you on the front end just to kind of get you in the habit of not.
It's strictly a behavioral change.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And then we'll just redistribute the money back to you afterwards. Which for most people who in our culture tend to be monetarily uneducated
And over leveraged.
Yeah,
That money 6 months from now means nothing when interest is piling up today.
exactly. And when that happens, that money does come in. It's just going to be spent on things that aren't necessarily needed.
Absolutely. We are, as a populace, spenders. Money in, money out. Like that's
Faster.
yeah. Yeah. I've grown up witnessing it. I've grown up living it at times where it's like there are just things that needed to be bought. There was priorities. We had to spend the money. And so that was what it was. Like it's life threatening for Canadians to potentially experience a winter where they could not heat their home.
Yeah.
That's not fit.
Yeah. And like, even for me, like between myself and Kelsey, like we make a pretty decent income. And there's times even for myself, like I'm out of touch with someone who's making 50 grand a year, 40 grand a year. Like I'm personally out of touch. As much as I try to be empathetic to them and how hard that might be to try and live off of that. Or even people living off 35, 30. I can at least try, but I can understand, like there are times where I have a hard time fully wrapping my head around what it's like to only make that money at times. So if that's hard for me and someone who lives pretty close to people like that, what's it like for people living as MPs in Ottawa, making $400,000 a year, doing what they do?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're pretty out of touch as well.
They are 100% out of touch. 100% out of touch, because I would say right now, anyone making $40,000 to support, if $40,000 had to support 2 people, you're tight.
It's very
You're
tight.
tight.
Yeah.
You live in Halifax, you're strapped. Yeah. If you talk about a community like New Glasgow, that money goes a little further.
Yeah.
Obviously, by nature, you're in 2 hours out of the city. Of course, it's less. And Sean Fraser's thing about the Hurricane Fiona, that's what this big deal is about Hurricane Fiona. Dog, why don't we talk about how NS Power took a month to get power back to some places in New Glasgow? That's a private company. That's their problem.
Yeah.
What? So that's a write-off. Dog, there was the National Guard in New Glasgow there directing traffic. I went to go to the building after Fiona, a week after Fiona. There was military peace officers flipping signs. What is going on here? This is who we've called in. You couldn't find anyone else. Why didn't he come down there and do that? If he's so free will, free spirit. It just doesn't make sense. There's something else going on.
Yeah, it was. He gets like I found that Sean Fraser I can tell Pierre Poilievre is getting under the skin of the Liberals. Like when you see guys who are supposed to be calm and collected, like Sean Fraser, getting heated in House of Commons in question period, you know something's going on, and he's just like he's like snapped about Hurricane Fiona and how like it decimated his community, and because conservatives' inaction on climate change is why Fiona happened. And I'm like,
Dog,
sounds
how old
so
were you during Katrina?
Right?
Because I was like 3, I think. I'm in 2001, right? No, Hurricane Juan, I'm trying to say.
Oh, Hurricane Juan.
Hurricane Juan was 2003.
Yeah, that was 03.
Yeah. I remember trees on this in my community. It affected way less than Hurricane Juan. Hurricane Juan ripped trees out of the ground on the street where my grandmother lived and fell on my mother's car. And while there was damage to a lot of properties, it seemed pretty equal to Juan.
Right.
I don't get it. Hurricanes happen. They've happened forever. They'll continue to happen. I just don't think that. Well, I'm not doubting climate change, but I just don't think that because there was a hurricane during hurricane season, that now it's in like a big deal.
Yeah. I found that argument very odd because hurricanes have been hitting Nova Scotia forever.
Like we are October, I guess from like end of August to like October is hurricane season.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
It was weird for me moving from Toronto, getting used to that. Like that, like,
it's going to be stormy.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Sometimes it's just a tropical storm. Other times it's a category 2.
Yeah, but this was like a full Juan type moment. You know, like power was out for days, weeks, a month.
Yeah.
But I think climate change is not what made a hurricane happen. Hurricanes are just based on. I just can't wrap my head around it.
Well, yeah, I think what I can't wrap my head around is the fact of we're gonna tax our way out of climate change. It's just really
right.
It's just odd.
Because where's that money go? Like what you've taxed? Yeah, like you've taxed me. That money's now in an account with the CRA or whatever. How does that prevent hurricanes? If that's your argument of why we need to tax us, how does that money stop hurricanes?
All right, devil's advocate here. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
All right, so you start changing behavior. So people use oil less, use gas cars less, means that we're cutting down our emissions, which is now gonna maybe start affecting the climate and having less severe weather patterns happening.
Right.
That's kind of where the thought process goes, from my understanding.
Totally. It's just, I can't wrap my head, because it's such an interesting statement from someone who is the representative for a town, or I guess a community, because there's multiple, Pictou County has got, I think, 4 towns in it? 4 or 5, really. If you live in New Glasgow and you have to go to an appointment in Trenton, there's no public transit taking you. There's
no Uber.
Yeah, dog. It's probably a 30-minute walk. Probably more than 30 minutes to walk to Trenton. It's a 10-minute car ride, but there's no bus taking you there. If you need to get to Pictou from New Glasgow, you have to drive. And what about someone who lives in the town of Thorburn that everyone forgets about in Pictou County? Yeah. That's a town in Pictou County that no one talks about. They're getting nowhere without driving.
Right.
So to have that statement of, carbon tax is good and we should not be using gas vehicles and oil home heating. It's like, well, everyone in your constituency relies on those 2 things.
Yeah.
I think a way of also going around is if there is more green initiatives of like actual changes of like, yeah, like carbon tax is taxing the people that are, using, carbon emissions now with oil cars, but people that are using electric cars, they get a reduced power bill because of it from that tax bill.
Incentivize rather than.
Instead of, it's like, hey, you're doing a good thing for the environment here. You get some money back from it instead of being like, oh, you are a just horrible person for using carbon and you're going to get taxed on
Penalize.
it.
Well, you're going to take your money. Yeah, like that's what I was going to say was like, I find that you usually attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar.
Yeah.
It's the same idea.
Give me a ton of money to put a heat pump and electric heat in my home.
Yeah.
Give me a ton of money to go buy a Tesla. Ensure that I will have interest-free payments for 2 years.
Yeah. Get me excited.
Do something that goes, wow, yeah, you know what? I would install a charger in my house I would do that.
Yeah, like do something that would make it almost, it's like it would be stupid of me not to make the switch. Like you have to hit, like people, we are focused on our own problems. So if you can make our lives better, if we make a change in our behavior, then do that.
It's literally selling.
Yeah.
You're like selling something. It's like you need to show the features, the advantage, and the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
And to me, it's like, okay, you've made gas really expensive. So now, in the meantime, while I'm considering, should I buy a green vehicle, I'm losing any money that I could use to buy it on the expensive gas.
So, yeah, in terms of like incentivizing stuff, what they have in Norway, at least in Oslo, is driving into the city. There's 2 different circles where you get basically billed driving into the city. But for electric cars, you don't get billed because you're driving an electric car into the city. And you can also use the bus and taxi lane.
Oh.
But if you're driving like a diesel car that is registered in your car because it gets, scanned and everything, you will get, you'll have to pay for that for driving a gas car into the city. So it's just, they know people are commuting in and out of the city. They know people are going to be driving. It's like, you know what, here's electric. If you have the opportunity to drive electric, that's good for you. Some people are driving further, so it is harder, but they can still drive. It's just, it's going to cost you a little bit. But if you have that electric thing, you can skip the traffic. You can be in the far right lane with the taxis and the buses. Everyone else with the gas car, they're in the center lanes. Like they can't skip it.
I love it.
Yeah, and I'm even there was something that Pierre Poilievre said in a speech once upon a time that I thought was interesting. I'd be curious to ask him more direct questions about it, what he meant by it. But he talked about addressing climate change with technology and not taxes. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious what he really meant by that. Because I think there is technology to really address some of these issues that, again, you would incentivize people instead of like treating them terribly for their bad behavior. You're not allowed to come to this restaurant because you use a gas car.
Right.
So.
And for example, like let's say you identify a huge landowner in Nova Scotia that owns a ton of land. Like could the government not say, we want to rent that land from you just to put solar panels on?
Yeah.
We want to rent that land to put wind turbines on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, now there's someone in Nova Scotia who's being paid rent, which is great because now they're earning money. They'll spend that money. They'll pay taxes on that money. And you just found a way to put reusable energy into Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Or this is actually an idea even Keegan and Maruga brought up in regards to crypto, but I think it's interesting. Like, what if you got a certain amount of kickback for having a certain amount of trees on your land?
Yes.
Like, there's just so many ideas that you can try that doesn't result in we're just going to tax you to Yemen.
Yeah.
And like, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's for me really like, I think Canadians are so strapped that if you said, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, like you're already looking and you choose to buy an e-vehicle, we will pay all your registration costs. I think that is enough to sell it right now. Mm-hmm. I think we are so broke that being told that they will cover the DMV fees and everything like that would be enough. Right. I really don't think it would take that much to incentivize. I don't think it's like a $30,000 type moment.
No, it's I think I know I told you the story. Definitely have told you off air. I can't remember if I've shared on the show before, but it happened over the summer when I was driving down to Maine.
Yeah.
I was driving on my way back. I hit New Brunswick, and usually every time you hit a freaking supercharger in New Brunswick, you're gonna have some some person who from the middle of nowhere, New Brunswick, is gonna ask you about your Tesla and ask you about the electric cars. They're interested.
Yes,
because like
you shared this on air.
I did share this on air.
Yes,
right?
but say it again. It's it's great.
It's still like to this day, it breaks my heart. It was a terrible story, and I just had to be very honest with the woman. So she was a very average Canadian, she was making close to like 50, 55, and her salary on a yearly basis. And she was really intrigued by the Tesla. She's like, how much did it cost you? I was like, well, taxes in, you're looking at about 60,000, but then you get 6,000 off from the incentive, and then an extra 3 on top of that from the province. But I don't know what New Brunswick does, but that's what they do in Nova Scotia. So on and so forth. And she was like, oh, and then she was like, okay, like, she's like, well, she did the math in her head right there on the spot. She's like, okay, it was something like, I pay like $500 on gas a month. How much is the lease payments? I was like, well, I'm paying like $624 right now. And she was like, oh, that's just like for the lease. And I was like, yeah, that's not including if you have to like obviously pay for the extra electricity that you're using at your house. She was like, I can't afford that. I can barely afford my car right now. And like her face just dropped, like almost as if she realized she's been lied to. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, man. And it's like, just given the nature, I think, of being, and it's such a, I think you have to kind of be from Nova Scotia to get what I mean. But like, when I say like the Nova Scotian grandmother, who's just like out to hurt no one, and only knows what's going on in her community, it only cares about her family, but loves everyone they meet, but like really only is concerned about her household at the end of the day. She is 100% someone who watches CTV News. And has 100% heard how good it is to have an electric car and be told all these things. And it's like, then you realize, oh, I'm going to get left behind. And I'm going to get left behind in healthcare. And I'm going to get left behind in economics. And I'm going to get left behind in owning a vehicle. And it's like, you turn 60 years old in Nova Scotia and you get forgotten about here. Mm-hmm. You 100% get forgotten about here as soon as you are an elderly person. And it's like, it's been evident and it's observable in watching my grandparents age, the difference in their treatment, in everything that they need to access. And it just sucks.
And you're not wrong. Like that was like literally like there's been times where like Kelsey's parents have, floated the idea at times of like, hey, they'd move up to Nova Scotia, like once they retire. And Kelsey's like, no,
you leave Nova Scotia when you get old.
Yeah. Like this is not the place to come. This is an awful place. And that was the thing. This actually low key ticked me off at the time, but I tried my best to keep a straight face and just try to move on from it. But when Manny just dismissed the idea of like why people are scared to go to ERs here and saying, well, you're just being dramatic. I was like, do you not realize the healthcare issue here?
Yeah.
It's a legitimate problem that people legitimately actually would rather, it's either you pretty much, if you get something serious here, you're going to die. Like I made that comparison, and he said I was being dramatic. I was like, people literally died and waiting for care here. Like, what are you talking about? I'm being dramatic.
Well, yeah, it's like my partner's families have found people on the side of the highway waiting for an ambulance. People have died in their small community waiting for an ambulance. With an inability to have a family doctor, not being able to get life-saving medications for anyone, even in my family, people, if they lost their family doctor, would be screwed. And then there was one time where we were at ER, and this man walked in, and this is like, this is heavy. And he just walked in and he said, I'm going to kill myself tonight, and I need help. And they went, we're really busy right now. Like, here's a blanket. Can you sit down? Like, we'll get you in as soon as we can. And I went, that was the response to that. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. That puts into light why I'm here, for one, I suppose. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm no longer in my head about why we're here.
Right.
But I was like, whoa, that was it. And he waited there for an hour or so, and then someone gave me a gun, and I was like, you let this man wait here for an hour? What? Get this man some help. Like, to me, that is as serious as I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm bleeding to death. Like, to me, that is as serious. And I was like, whoa, that is really, really upsetting. So if that doesn't scare you enough, what should also scare you from our ERs is, especially the QE2 on Robey Street, unfortunately, there's oftentimes more police cars out front than ambulances because some crazy people get themselves in there, man. I heard there was a man in there yelling racial profanities at every black person in the ER to the black cop that was trying to arrest him. And I think, you know, if a woman, like let's like Hannah, for example, had to go to the ER alone, I would be fearful for her of what may transpire.
Right.
And during COVID, I wasn't allowed in.
Right.
So I slept in the vehicle until she was able to be seen. And I'm like, what? And then she texted me and she said, there's a crazy guy coming out, like, wake up. I locked the vehicle and he's walking around tapping on the glass of everyone's vehicles, pulling on the door handles. He pulled on my door handle while I was sleeping in the truck. I thought, well, what is going on at the ER tonight? I think that's every night. I think it's terrifying to go to ERs here for multiple reasons.
Right. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd imagine I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's, you know, it definitely when you're in a society where healthcare is in a rough spot, mental health care is non-existent. ERs are the last place and the only place people can go to. It's going to attract a lot of interesting situations.
Absolutely. And it attracts people who shouldn't be there, like someone just trying to get a refill on their prescription. But that's the only way they can see a doctor. Yeah. So they have to wait there all night. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
I've been on that family doctor waiting list for 6 years now.
I'm so blessed to have one. Don't love her. She's just a doctor. She's not very approachable, but it's better than nothing at this point.
Right.
What I would give for a paid urgent care and put me on the paid healthcare train all day long, dog. I have yet to hear a rebuttal that would make me care about why we shouldn't have paid healthcare.
Oh, you didn't think the our episode with Reg didn't convince you at all?
It did nothing for me.
Oh, interesting.
Not at all. I got the money. Sorry. This is about my healthcare. I got to grow old, man. I don't really care.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, wow. That was quite the left turn on that one, but I appreciate it.
I think it's relevant right now.
Definitely relevant.
Especially, have you heard about the Tylenol and Advil children's medicine shortage?
Yeah.
What's going on with that? How's there no children's medicine right now? The pharmacists are like dosing it out only if you bring the sick kid in to prove the kid's sick. Because people are hoarding it to sell it for more on Facebook Marketplace.
Dang.
People are sick.
Dude. Speaking of people being sick, there's actually something that just kind of hit me as well. I don't know if I saved this tweet or not. I had to have. But it upset me a lot, and it was like, do people really believe this garbage? And it was an American journalist who was hypothesizing of why America has, doesn't try to renew ties with Cuba.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason why was the reason they gave. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, but I can at least go off the dome. Is they said that because Cuba is so successful in their healthcare and their food and their overall people's overall happiness with their lives, they rank better than America. I was like, and then all the responses like, yeah, man, capitalism sucks. Cuba did it right. And I was like, oh yeah, you guys are all American. Yeah, because you've never been to Cuba. As a Canadian, I've been to Cuba, and I've been in the streets of Cuba. And no, it's not all that.
The resorts are pretty.
Yeah.
And even then, you can't usually eat the food.
Yeah. And because, it's a communist country, did you catch it that, when you work at a resort, you get tips at resorts. And because of those tips, people who work at resorts make more than the doctors in Cuba.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cuba's doing real well with their communism over there.
It's funny because people say they have world-renowned healthcare. Apparently, the healthcare there is supposedly quite good.
I haven't seen it.
Apparently, it's really good for people who are not from Cuba.
Oh.
Maybe there's different rates, but apparently the healthcare is quite good. when I was in New York, I think I spoke about this last episode. The lovely Uber driver, again, I reiterate this because he was a G, who was talking about the Quran, also said, if you know anyone who is waiting on knee replacements or like things to like surgeries, he said, go to Cuba, book a hotel, go there, you'll get it done in a week. He said, don't wait in Canada. He was like, he would not stop talking about how well off you'd be if you just went to Cuba to get things looked after.
That's interesting.
And even like I have family who were looking at cancer treatment options that were only available in Mexico. They weren't in Canada or the United States. So I think oftentimes there's a lot of people who have to travel for healthcare, but apparently Cuba's quite good. Supposedly. I don't know. I've never been inside a Cuban hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great.
You were in a Cuban hospital?
Yeah, I've been.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, I mean, it's like they're definitely bootstrapped. Like they got the stuff to do this work.
It's
sure.
a hospital.
Yeah,
of course.
They're
not a third world country.
Yeah,
they have a hospital.
Yeah, but like, yeah, it's like they got the bare minimum, is what I'm saying.
Right.
So maybe like sure, like I got decent care, but it's not like I also paid for it. So I don't know. I'm curious what it is to be a citizen there.
It's trickier when you pay for it because it's like if I'm paying for it, it better be damn good.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've never been to Cuba.
Yeah. No, I've been a few times. And that's the reason I've like.
It's the only down south place I haven't been.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's like, you know, as many people will say, the food's not the greatest. You know, it's fairly bland.
Yeah,
but like
it's the food, you're there for more than the food.
Yeah, exactly. So and it's cheap. It's super cheap to go. And so that's why you usually go. But like I've purposely made sure I've gone into the cities and gone into the towns and just to get an idea of what the culture is like, what people are like. And I remember there was like, we came across a guy who was doing like, he was just a dude who was doing horse trips. He had a horse. He was like, hey, I can take you someplace with my horse. Like he was just trying to look for some money, right? He lived near the resort and just trying to figure out a way to hustle. And so he's like, hey, yeah. I was like, yeah, we're just like, yeah, we paid him some money to take us on, you know, a horse trip or whatever. And, but then he's like, yeah, I'll show you my family. He brought us to his house and they lived in this, literally it's just pure concrete with a little like tube TV. It's in the corner. And like, there was a fridge, but there wasn't much. It was very bare minimum. And I'm like these are the people. Like these are like definitely awesome people, salt of the earth individuals.
Yes.
But they're living under communism.
Yeah.
You know, and
which in most cases, for the majority of people under communism means poverty.
Yeah. And that's what the people were living in. I'm not here to make a judgment of like if they're happy or not. They were very happy people. They were very grateful with what they had. My point is, countries that live under communism usually aren't better off.
Yes.
And the fact that we're even having this argument is psychotic to me.
As non-communists,
yeah,
we don't get a say as to whether it's good or not.
No, I just know I have friends who have fled communist countries and told me what it's all about, and they very much prefer to be on this side of things.
What a great way to put that sentence. If you have to flee anything, it's generally not good. Yeah. No one flees, you know, the best thing they've ever had in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
true. But apparently a lot of people are fleeing the States to go elsewhere. Oh, wait. No, sorry, they didn't. Even under a Trump administration, they stayed put, even though they said they were leaving, right? So,
yeah, that was an interesting time, too.
Yeah. Anyone who, like, even in Canada, like, conservatives do the same thing. Well, Trudeau gets elected one more term. I'm out of here.
It's like, shut up.
No, you haven't gone anywhere, have you?
Yeah.
You know?
You're girl, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, we'll hold them accountable 100%, but...
let's not be so dramatic.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Like, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Where are you going? Sure. At least, like, there's some Nordic countries, which would be interesting to live in.
Mm-hmm. I think Amsterdam would be sick to live in.
Yeah, that'd be a fun experience.
Yeah. But that's just because it looks fun.
Yeah.
I could never imagine moving because of the also, I suppose that's quite privileged.
Mm-hmm.
Now that as I say that, I'm like, you know what? I really haven't been put in a position where I feel like I need to leave because of the government. When there's people who live in Cuba and North Korea who I'm sure would snap their fingers to make that happen.
Totally. Actually, speaking of which, Do you know why there's such a big Cuban population in Miami?
In Miami?
Yeah, in like South Florida.
No.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering.
Do you know why?
It's just everyone who fled Cuba to go. That was the closest place they could go.
I think it's because
why'd they flee Cuba? I don't know.
I think it was the closest land, right?
It is the closest land.
Yeah.
Let's say I was just making a facetious joke.
Yeah.
Of like people literally like apparently Cuba's so great. Got it. Makes sense. People were fleeing in droves and taking rafts and risking their lives to get to America. Got it. They're doing that for no reason though.
And isn't it like it's so interesting. Yeah. How people will make comments on communism without, they'll make they'll have an opinion on communism and they'll believe that they're talking about socialism.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah.
However, this is one thing someone brought this up once upon a time and I thought it was interesting. Is obviously we use the term Nazi.
Yes.
And instantly bells go off.
Yes.
For good reason. They were responsible for killing millions of people.
Yeah.
Why don't the same bells go off for us anymore when people say communist?
Yeah. Like, did we all forget about Saddam Hussein?
And many others throughout history who used communism to slaughter thousands of millions of people.
Yeah.
Throughout history.
Like, well documented as well.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't hidden.
No.
They were pretty much saying, this is what we're doing.
And this is
and you cannot stop us.
And it's the same playbook. How does it all start? We're gonna give social assistance to everybody, social justice to all. That's how it always starts.
Mm-hmm. The greater good.
Yeah.
We've got your back. It's interesting. It is, yeah. In my mind, I don't ever see Canada getting to that point. I think, especially in this time period, I feel like the populace would become far too overwhelming for the government trying to make that change. But I guess who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't I don't throw anything out anymore since 2020.
Exactly right.
I've seen how quick things happen, and I'm just like, I think anything's on the table now for me. So,
yeah.
Especially with these Chinese interference in our elections, apparently. But that was interesting. Man, we'll get that a little later. ESG though, have you been hearing about ESG, dude?
Not even a little.
So this is a framework that's been around for about 20 years now.
Okay.
And it's essentially a framework that's used to score an investment based on their environmental impact, on their social impact, and governance.
Got it.
And so it's getting a little bigger now because major banks are now using it to score investments. And so the reason why I'm bringing it up, because it's starting to come up a little bit more in my workplace as we are working with banks that are now using ESG scores. With financial advisors using to kind of show their clients like, hey, this is the ESG score for this fund. So like, just like they score these, the audits happen to a lot of these like companies, and they measure them on how they're impacting the environment. Are the way they manufacture their products, they're using slave labor? How are they governing their employees?
Right.
That's kind of how this is all scored, and it's getting interesting, to say the least. So at this point, from 100 miles away, seems like a really interesting idea. I think it's kind of cool. It'd be nice to know, like, hey, like before I invest in this fund or I invest in this company, I want to make sure that they're doing the right things.
Oh.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see what the ESG score would be for them. If it's high, it's like, okay, they take care of their employees. They don't use slave labor. That's cool. They're taking care of the environment. Yeah, I'll invest in them. It's like this ESG score is built for like investors who are more socially conscious.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that matter?
Because now we're moving into a world that's like trying to be more socially focused and empathetic, understanding people's situations. We don't want to be in an economy that's built off of like, the demise of another
Certainly.
people.
Right.
That's kind of where this is coming from.
Got it.
And they're using it on companies. The thing that people are spooked by is how long until they start applying it to individuals. Like,
Right.
when do they start tying an ESG score to like, hey, we're kind of already doing it now, but like, hey, you don't have the right windows on your house, so we're not going to finance the mortgage for your home. You have
You have an oil heating system.
Yeah. You have a poor ESG score, so we cannot fund this. And it's going to be, and now it's going to
That's more to the property than the person, though.
Yeah. But like, it's more of like, when can you start, getting funding for things?
Right.
How do you, what if it starts, your ESG score is now tied to like, okay, what's your ESG score in terms of what you've invested in? Are you a good person? It's like now it's getting to the point where investments are now being tied to your deeds instead of your capital. Right. So like right now our credit system is built off of like, if you're paying your credit card on time, if you're making your mortgage payments. Now it's going to start slowly morphing into more to like a social credit score.
That is so stupid and scary.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
This ESG is kind of the start of it, at least for corporations, and the people are worried it's going to start moving its way down to individuals.
I can like 90% agree with it for corporations. I think though, like bankers like telling me this is the ESG score of a company, I think I don't really care. I just want to make money. That's the point of me giving you my money to invest.
Yeah.
I really like, that's great. But if I'm giving you $1,000 to invest and I want a return, I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm buying a house and they're going to say, your score on the house is too low, we're not going to finance it. I think that's not the bank's job either. The bank's job is to lend me money and make 3.5% off my $300,000. That's your payment to shut up.
Right.
That's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Stay out of my business. And then if it's a personal credit score, it's like, so I can't go get a credit card or a line of credit if my carbon emissions are too high. Like, I don't understand where these two worlds collide. What does my environmental footprint have to do with my financial standing? To me, those are completely separate. They do not interact, and there's no point for them to.
Yeah. I find it's almost getting to the point where it's like we're starting to see the demise of it already, but this is kind of like another layer of like ending meritocracy.
I don't know what that means.
When you get things based on your merit versus like things that you earn based on merit versus just getting it because you're the right skin color or you're the right gender or you identify the right way.
So you say meritocracy?
Yeah, meritocracy.
Is that based on, would that be like me having a good credit score means I get a good credit card?
Meritocracy is more so what we live in now. So like you get the job because you have the skills to do the work.
Right.
You get the house because you have a good credit score and you make your payments on time.
Right. And you have the down payment.
Yeah. We're moving into more of an ideological society where it's like
you have the money, but
you need to have these things in place first. That's kind of that's going to start taking kind of the driver's seat in these social issues.
That's
over
absurd.
money.
That's absurd. There are other ways to mitigate environmental impact other than involving it in one's ability to obtain financial products.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no way.
We're moving into some interesting times.
That is, if that happens, I will become a lender and I will not require an ESG score.
Ooh,
that is so absurd.
Shout out capitalism.
Yeah, friggin' right.
Don't care.
That's the point where it's like, you want to buy a house, I'll lend you the money, and I want 3.5%. If you make the payments, I will shut up. That's all I want is the payments.
Yeah,
that's the job of the bank.
Dude, let's do it. Dude, we're gonna make our own fund. That'd be great.
Of course.
But so this is the interesting part. So things like companies like BlackRock are like huge, making or have huge money and huge investments around a bunch of different companies. They have a bunch of money in Disney.
Yeah,
like they run the world. They run the capital world at this point.
Yeah.
But like no one's looking at their ESG score.
Yeah. Why?
Because a lot of their funding is tied up in China.
Right.
Who, I mean, if you look at them on paper, they put people in concentration camps and like,
these rules are meant to hinder the little guy.
Yeah,
they're not meant to hinder corporations.
they have
to start with corporations so that people go,
let's get them.
Get the corporations, and then when they start getting you and you're screwed, it's too late.
Shout out Van City. Let's do this. Boom, this first one here. So Van City is a bank out of Vancouver, and they've officially announced another first, a credit card that counts your carbon footprint. Ooh. Starting in the new year, every Van City Visa credit card holder will be able to track the estimated carbon emissions of their credit card purchases. Members will be able to see how their monthly tally compares to the national average or which credit card purchases have the highest environmental cost. The carbon counter will help Van City card holders understand the carbon footprint of their purchases, as well as provide advice on what they can do to reduce their emissions footprint. I think this is the start of this whole personal ESG stuff.
See, I like this more. This scares me less, where it's like, to me, assuming it's harmless, there's obviously an assumption that this is not connected to something higher. I think, there are people who wish to learn their environmental impact. I think this is a creative way to use technology to learn about that. Do I trust that there's not something bigger going on behind the scenes? I don't know. But if there isn't, I think it is a good use of technology if it's harmless.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I can get on board with that. It's just like, based on the things that we've been reading,
it ties too neatly in with the ESG.
Yeah, it's like
it ties way too neatly.
Yeah, it's more of like along the lines of like this happens in every negotiation. You come in with the big ask, and then it's like, okay, then we'll come with the smaller thing.
Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of some of that, like that kind of scenario where it's like, we know the big ask is like, hey, we're gonna track, you for what you spend on your carbon footprint, and people are gonna be like, don't really want that, but they want to see they'd be interested in what their impact is regardless, as long as it doesn't impact their finances.
Yeah,
they'd be interesting to track. And that's how you slowly start inching it away, and to the point where it's like, now you're actually being judged based on what your environmental impact is, and bada bing, bada boom. Now you're in the system.
I mean, I think by nature of having a credit card, I'm probably in the system anyway.
Right.
I mean, it's a credit product taken out based on my social insurance number, which is administered by the government. So, I mean, I think if there was enough pressure put on Visa, MasterCard, or Amex for my file, that they could obtain it.
Yeah.
So I think by nature of using a credit card, they can probably see what I'm up to anyway. But I like the way it is now.
Right.
It's not thrown in my face. It's not held against me. But I'm sure they know. I'd like that. I'm okay with that. I think I have an idea of what freedom is, and to me, freedom is we are allowed to be free. We're not inherently free. That's just how we're not free. We're not, unless you're a sovereign citizen, really, you're not. So to me, it's like, this is like the expected amount of control.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. But I don't want it to go too far.
Yeah. Spoken like a true Canadian. We out here.
I'm okay with a little control.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting the fact that it will track you and compare you to like the global average.
Like rankings.
Yeah.
So people are gonna be like, oh, I'm below average. And then it's just, they're like, oh, look at my credit score. Mine's better than yours. And it's like, whatever.
100%. It's gonna be like the at brunch, like with your friends, and it's like, what's your ESG?
Yeah.
Like, I've been able to get mine down to a whatever. It's like, oh, you're still at a 10. Like, what are you buying? Like, we're like, whatever. It's like,
dude, it's weird
because we don't talk about our credit scores.
No,
like none of us showed up and go, what's your credit score? Mine's great.
Yeah,
we don't talk about that.
But we've conditioned our society to start sharing about that type of credit score, though.
Yes, we've conditioned. Don't talk about number. Like big businesses, for one, corporations don't want you to talk about your salary because then everyone knows what you make, and it's like everyone talk about your salary. I tell everyone what you make. Especially if you work in the same company.
Right.
100% find out what your peers make. And then number two, it's like the credit score thing. It's like, now it's like a social credit score where it's like, oh, I'm super environmentally conscious and you're not. Like,
Only we can hang out.
yeah. It's like, then don't.
Yeah.
Don't come near me. freak.
But we've bred a society that kind of does that, and that's like it's not far off, and it makes sense now.
Like, just stay out of my business in general. If I'm close enough with you, you'll know.
Yeah, true. What's your ESG score, Philip?
I don't know. I fly to Norway like every Christmas is probably high.
No, mine's all ripping down the 102 every day because I don't live near the city.
True.
So it's like, what do you want me to do? Take Halifax Transit? Dog. That needs like a total revamp.
Dude, it does.
I'm in the Halifax Transit group on Facebook, and there's a couple local MPs or whatever you want to call them, like people in there for our local government. And they all the time are just tagging them and they're like, when are you going to fix this? Like, this bus is like 3 buses have drove by me. No one's stopping. Like, what's going on?
No.
And I'm just like Metro Transit or Halifax Transit now, as it's called. I mean, it's probably like, I don't want to say it's one of the worst, but it's really not great.
No, it's like, they're already set up for a loss because of how the city's laid out in general.
How it was like, it's a walkable city. We're not a drivable city.
No. And so like, yeah, it's not meant for big expansion, unfortunately. Like we have to develop outside the city, really.
And the only way we can never have underground rail.
No.
So SkyTrains are that's like way more expensive.
Mm-hmm. I mean, their idea to expand the ferry system, I think, is actually makes the most sense.
That's a ferry to Bedford, right?
Yeah.
That would be super helpful.
Yeah. It was like
I wouldn't need to take the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I could get to downtown just by driving to the parking lot and getting on the boat.
Exactly. And they're thinking, so it was expanding to, obviously so you have the Woodside, Alderney, Halifax, and then expand to Bedford and as well as Shannon Park.
Oh, interesting.
So everyone can fly down the highway, get off the highway, park, take the ferry
That would
across.
make it so easy. And then I could just walk to whatever once I'm on Halifax.
Because, like for the most part, like all the important things in Halifax are around the harbor. So why not just use the harbor as your transportation system?
Literally, because like, say I needed to come downtown, like I would need to go to like the banks I deal with, which are all like near Argyle Street.
Mm-hmm.
I can just walk up from the friggin' drop off and then just go back home when I'm done.
Exactly. And then we're getting
for $3.
We're getting those electric ferries. That ESG score will be pumping, baby.
It's so interesting what's happening. And listen, I think there are things that we need. Environmental harm is real. Like, it's 100% happening.
Totally.
I like things like that. Like, encourage me to not take my vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it.
100%. Yeah, like, if I could just drive down to Shannon Park or, in your case, drive down to Bedford.
If I just drove, down the Bedford Highway to a parking lot.
Yeah, get on the ferry and just take in this. That'd be amazing.
Yes. But what they'll do is they'll build it. They won't build a sizable parking lot. They'll put it in a place no one asks for, and it will not run the same route as the ones downtown. It'll run like once. It will run differently. It'll be different, and
Once
it will
an hour.
suck.
Yeah. They'll make a crappy version of it.
Yes. And because I know it's so much longer, then there should be 2.
Yeah.
Like, because it needs to run as frequently.
Yeah.
People are living in Bedford because there's nowhere else to live. That's where things are being built.
Yeah. And if you could take if we could have like a ferry system that really worked well out of Bedford, how much burden would take off that Bedford highway?
Dude, and the 102.
Yeah, and the 102.
Because if you live in Hammond's Plains or Sackville, those people would come to the Bedford terminal and get on the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, even adding another stop on the Halifax side could just open the possibility for more transportation across there too. Because there's people that need to go to the north end that, taking the ferry all the way down to the harbor is not helpful at all. So if they open up another stop, there's more places where the ferries can stop, and then you can have more ferries just actually active at the same time.
Yes, like they're exactly right. Everyone that comes from Dartmouth could also go to one like by the container pier.
Be the first in the world to make literally like one of the most complicated transportation ferry systems. We could do it here if there were smart people involved. Yeah, ginormous. I get there's a lot of like trade coming in and out, but there's a way to do it.
And you can navigate. You literally can navigate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the boat's only there until it's docked.
Yeah.
And then it's not there for like hours, for days.
Yeah. Exactly. I'd be like, there's something cool that could happen here, and like really limit the traffic.
And you could just call up the container pier and say like, is it? And I'm not educated on how boats work, of container boats.
Yeah.
But couldn't you just schedule it so they all arrive at night? Then there's no one who needs ferries, or schedule them to arrive after the ferry stops working.
I don't think so. I just we do a lot of like trade.
I we're
Yeah.
the biggest port.
Yeah, and so that, and then like they're on an international schedule, right? So you got ferries coming in from Europe.
Yeah, I know.
So that's just like it would be a lot, but like still,
Why not build on the pier then? Why not build on the one down in the south end
that's an idea.
and stop all that traffic into the harbor because it's like right there at Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need to come into the peninsula.
Exactly, or even have Reg's idea of like
Yes.
just stack up Woodside, and
That way it keeps to one side.
Yeah.
It only affects one ferry.
exactly, and it'd just be and like that and even where he's thinking of like putting like all the container ships is like on the other side of the Woodside ferry, so like it really wouldn't affect the
Oh,
ferry,
yeah.
like it wouldn't affect it at all. And then you have all the trucks that can come in off the highway, pick up their
They can literally come right in by the end of Irving.
and this is all again, that's Reg's idea. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It would work. I think it would work well. It's just like we have people who don't like to work together, politics between people, and that causes people not to do cool things. So stay woke.
Yeah. And also just in terms of how big of having the most advanced ferry system and like, first of all, Canada, North America, or even the world would be as a tourism drive, because that is a lot of Nova
Totally.
Scotia.
100%. I literally had to go find the deepest subway tunnel in Montreal. Like, I saw it because on the internet, it's like the deepest subway in Canada is in Montreal. And I was like, well, I want to go to that stop.
Right.
I'm a tourist. It's fun.
Yeah.
So it's like, who wouldn't want to like come and see the world's biggest water trans communication thing? Like, it's like, I was gonna say transatlantic, but it's not transatlantic.
But yeah.
I could say Atlantic Ocean technically.
It's true.
Technically, it's the Atlantic Ocean, but
The most complex water transit system.
I think that'd be cool.
It would be really cool.
Or even often like offer ferries that not as often, but they go around and go over to Peggy's Cove. So you can see the entire waterfront until Peggy's Cove, and then you can see Peggy's Cove, and then it goes back, right? You can do tourism ferries like that too. And it's just a lot of opportunity there that's just not seized whatsoever.
I know. We literally, like, everywhere in this province is basically within an hour of water.
Yeah.
Like, you can get everywhere within an hour of water.
Totally.
So that's like
Use it.
That's pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you had a boat going from here to like, where's someone like Chesapeake?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so now I'm in Chesapeake, and then that's such an opportunity for each community to set up their own ride sharing right at the dock, for each community to set up their own like car rentals or bike or kayak rent. Like, capitalize on that. I don't get it. Move people around on the water. There's no traffic on the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, next to none.
None.
And it doesn't freeze over.
Ever.
Like-
We have one of the few harbors that don't freeze.
Yep. All year round, baby. Oh, it'd be sick. It'd be sweet. I would love to see it.
I know.
Yeah, and this is to make it very clear to the homies who think that we're just like cranky old conservative men. No, we really do want to see what's great for the earth. We think there's ways to do
I
it.
would take the ferry.
Yeah, I would 100% take that ferry.
There's just no way. I'm not going to drive from Bedford to Dartmouth to take the ferry to downtown Halifax.
Yeah.
What's the
dumb.
point?
Exactly. Like I knew our cities expanded a lot when
Yes.
I tried to get over to downtown Halifax for the Parade of Lights.
Dog, we came 3 hours early.
Dang. I tried going over. I've never seen a line for the ferry at the Alderney Ferry in my life like that ever.
Yeah.
I've lived here 11 years.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it that way.
Oh, yeah.
It was obviously the whole like lobby area was absolutely crammed with people waiting for the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a lineup. And the line went all the way to Portland Street. I couldn't believe it.
From Alderney.
From Alderney. So out, kind of wound around, up the stairs, all the way to the streetlights at Portland. I was like, yikes. This is crazy.
To get on the ferry.
To go to the Parade of Lights. I've never seen it like that.
Yeah, man. The city's a gridlock.
Yeah. It's nuts.
That's what I said. I was just in New York. The traffic doesn't stop. There's a ton of cars, but they're all moving. There's, like, on their equivalent of the Bedford Highway, it's 4 lanes each way.
America.
That's epic. And if you know your exit's coming up, you just start moving over.
Right.
And then you get off. Driving in Manhattan was so much easier than driving here.
Dude, that's a hot take.
I never had to slam on the brakes. I only had to honk once. People there, it's a smooth system, man.
So, for the sake of the homies, say that exactly. What is it again?
Driving in Manhattan was way easier than driving in Nova Scotia. 100%.
No one knows what it means.
Way easier. It's easier to drive in Toronto, in my opinion.
Gee.
Here, it's like, even just like today, the amount of times people will, coming off the McDonald Bridge, and then, you can go straight up toward Godigan or hook right down onto Barrington. The amount of people that come to a complete stop to take the right onto Barrington is dumb. It's so dumb. Everyone's, because it's one lane. So they lock their brakes, lock brakes. All of a sudden, the whole bridge is stopped because one person wants to go right on Barrington at a yield.
Yeah.
You don't have to stop when no one's there.
Yeah.
They all treat it as a stop sign. It's stupid.
I'm going to say this. This is my hot take. Nova Scotians don't know how to drive.
They don't. That's not a hot take. That's the truth.
True. You right. You right.
100% they do not know how to drive.
No, I'll let the people that are from here, I'll let you guys talk.
It was so much easier in Manhattan. It was so much
Good
easier.
to know. It's good. Yeah. I don't blame. I mean, I would agree with it. I find it a lot easier to drive in Toronto than to drive here.
And everyone's got somewhere to be, and they all want to get there safely.
Right.
So it's like this common ground of like, let's get there, but we won't kill each other. But here it's like, I have nowhere to be, and I don't know any of the rules of the road.
True.
So they're all driving slow and stupidly.
And I also heard here as well, the driving schools teach you to drive 10 and under.
The driving school literally said, if you don't have to go to the speed limit, go 45. That's what my driving instructor taught me. My dad was literally like, when I learned how to drive, they said you match the speed of traffic, otherwise it's dangerous.
Yeah. That's what they taught me in Toronto.
If it says 50 and everyone's going 60 and you're going 50, you're a hazard.
Crazy, man. All right. Well, there's that. Let's
Or when people will slam onto a brake on the highway, they're putting their four-ways on. And all of a sudden you come in, there's a line of traffic that you could have been warned about way back there. But no one uses their four-ways for anything other than when they're illegally parked going to Tim Hortons. That's when we use our four-ways here.
Yeah.
Like, they're for a reason.
All right. Let's get one more out of your system. Is there any more hot takes?
No, that's it.
That's it.
I'm done.
That's it for tonight.
Yeah, that's it.
I came across a highlight from the House of Commons. I think we'll just end on this, which I thought was funny.
I love it. Let's end on a funny.
Conservatives and liberals yelling at each other in the House of Commons. Well, there's nothing like it.
Typical.
And I'm just going to leave it at that. It's just funny.
All right. I haven't seen this.
It starts with a conservative MP from Calgary.
Okay.
Year highs in liberal food inflation is forcing more families into food banks than ever. Yesterday, the PBO said the savings the Liberals are claiming aren't transparent and has the finance minister looking more like Pinocchio. She's out to lunch while Canadians have to skip lunch. Will the finance minister show some compassion and cancel the cruel tripling of taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Minister for Families.
First of all, my honourable colleague is absolutely false. There is no tripling of taxes that is coming forward. Mr. Speaker, when they talk about compassion, they should look in the mirror. They've had several opportunities over the past couple of weeks to support families in need, whether it was the Canada Dental Benefit that they voted against, whether it was the Canada Housing Benefit that they voted against, whether it was childcare that they voted against. Mr. Speaker, they have had real opportunities to support Canadians, and at each opportunity, they have not.
All right, here we go. Wait for this one. Here goes, y'all.
For Calgary Forest Lawn.
Why would anyone take advice from a minister who broke Passports Canada and Service Canada, or an immigration minister who broke immigration, or a housing minister who broke housing, or a transport minister who broke our airports, or a finance minister who broke the banks of Canadians, or a prime minister who broke his promises and broke Canada? Why would anyone believe them? They should apologize for breaking.
Look at him.
I was dead, bro. Like, that's kind of where it ends. But, like, he just goes off on a tangent. Goes after all the ministers.
He pointed at each of them.
This prime minister who broke Canada.
I've never heard him talk before. No. And this was an iconic first appearance.
It absolutely was. You could tell it was, like, at that moment when she responded back.
she knew what she was ready for.
Yeah.
Like she was like, it's coming.
Well, it's like I saw it in him. Like his notes dropped. That was totally off the dome.
Oh, he was pissed.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm gonna get her.
I was like, I saw it this week. I was laughing so hard just because, like, I mean, you can tell from both sides that they have their lines they gotta hit, and so the triple, all that stuff.
Yes.
You're just like, here we go.
Like the one lately has been the Liberals are out of touch.
Yeah.
They've been saying that a lot. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's getting old.
Yeah.
Find a new buzzword.
It's marketing,
It is.
They're
They're selling it.
They saw what Donald Trump did when he got to power. That's how they're following.
Oh my god, it's so funny watching people around the world watch our House of Commons. For Canadians, it's unbelievably chaotic.
Oh, it's
Because people expect Canadians to be like I'm sorry, how are you doing? Like the classic Canadian.
Yeah.
Not here.
no, they're savage here, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Stuff that comes out in some of these is like hilarious. Like I actually heard Pierre Poilievre low key cuss at one point.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't do that in there.
definitely can't do it. But yeah, he was going off about just again the increase of money and stuff like
Of
that.
something. Everything's
And so,
going up.
and you can tell, again, he's a politician, so he, you can tell the performance was on. And he's like, I think it was Freeland that came back saying, her usual pizzazz, and he just this for our community here, money's gone up, our expenses have gone up 15%. Groceries are gone up X, Y, and Z%, and with your tax, their heating bills are now going to go up another 25%. And now I got constituents in my riding who literally, because of the increase of the interest rates, can't afford their mortgage. What the hell are they going to do now? He sat down. And then obviously the House Speaker's like, that's technically not a cuss word, but that's a little bit right in the line. So what? Just be careful out here, all right?
The speaker is literally just a referee.
Yeah, that's all he is. So I was laughing so hard. I was like, oh,
There's
man.
a female speaker who's there sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
She keeps them in check, man. She
does.
She does not take it. It's really impressive to watch.
Yeah, I wonder what it'd be like to be a House Speaker for a day. I
bet she loves her job. Because she's immune.
Right.
She just is there to direct the room.
Yeah.
But she gets to witness this every day.
Yeah.
It's probably fun.
People's yelling at each other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let this one go on for a little bit.
Right. It's or she'll be like, they have a good point. I'll let them keep going.
Yeah.
Let them hear this. Yeah. I wonder.
Yeah. I'm intrigued.
I wonder if their voting bias ever affects who they let talk.
I'd be curious.
And what's the vetting process to even become a speaker? How do they confirm they're not biased?
Yeah. Don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is I find the House of Commons probably the least constructive.
Oh, it's a gong show.
It's
for nothing.
It's not a great government body.
Nothing comes out of it.
No.
Everyone leaves upset.
Everyone leaves mad. It's just a time to dunk on each other. It's literally Twitter live.
Yes, it's what did you do this week that's cancelable?
Yeah.
And I'm going to shout it at you from across the room.
Exactly. Oh, God bless.
But ask for permission first from the speaker.
Yeah. And pose that as a question.
Of course.
Yeah, have to pose that as a question.
Yes, because you can't state anything to people,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh, yeah,
right.
and you can't call people by name.
Yes, by minister of,
Yeah.
or my colleague from.
My colleague of Carlton.
Yeah.
Yeah, gee.
That's crazy.
Oh.
So many rules.
And it's almost you have to there's a decorum around how you start a conversation or how you start a comment, how you end it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like anything you say between those 2 points is just fair game.
Free play.
As long as you don't cuss, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then you have to pose that question now.
Yeah, and then tie it up in a nice little bow.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
I love it.
Oh, God bless. Well, it's great to be on another show with you guys. We wanted this again. It was great.
Dog, this was all over the place.
Yeah.
Hopefully it made sense.
Yeah. And I really do feel like those are the best shows. So we're here for.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, whatever it is you're doing, whether you be taking the ferry to work.
Dog. Oh, my God.
Mine too.
Mine too. Or in the House of Commons.
Oh, God, that's 2 in a row. Or forgetting what to say.
Whatever it is you're doing.
Wherever you are.
We love you.
We're out.
Peace.